Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. As Tina said, Tina is the club uh, or district retention chair. So anytime you want to have ideas on retention, she's your gal, but she's also coordinating. She's a woman of many hats. She's coordinating these monthly membership webinars. So we appreciate you, Tina. Thank you so much for all that you do. Uh, I was sharing before we started recording that there's a ton of these webinars. So make sure you check out your district newsletter that was sent out in early October. I think specifically October 5th. You can check your junk mail and look at those dates because we've got lots of great stuff coming up. One of which is a new member orientation. So if you have new members in your club that haven't gone through an orientation, we will give them an orientation for you. That's on November 13th. And there's also just a general membership team meeting earlier on November 13th at 5:30. So let's go ahead and get started. You are here to learn about hosting an open house. So I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. And I hope, first I'm going to get a little poll on the audience here. For those of you that are participating here, who has already done an open house before? If you'll raise your hand, you can either raise your actual hand or raise your hand on Zoom, either way. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Okay, well, so we have some perfect people that could probably present this tonight. Thank you for hosting open houses. It's a fairly new concept that's really worked well to get clubs to get new members all at once, like a pretty good influx of new members. And we'll talk a lot about how to make this a successful open house tonight. So first goal is if you are a club, we're trying to stress this year, if your club is smaller than 25, you definitely want to host at least 2 open houses in the year. If you can do them quarterly and do 4, that would be fabulous. But just like service projects where you plan, you do the work, you meet, and you make it come together, we need to treat getting new members in the same way. We need to plan, we need to meet, we need to make it happen as a team. So if your club is more than 25 members, then the recommendation is that you do 2 for 2. And also you can throw some open houses in there for whatever works for your club. So hosting an open house is good because it is an organized plan. A lot of times we talk about let's increase membership. It's important. And then we should invite someone to a meeting and then nothing really happens because, it's kind of open. When you have an organized plan like an open house, you're going to be more likely to ask people to attend that one session. You also want to make sure you plan it by a membership committee or the division membership team. Hopefully your clubs have your own membership committee and not just a committee of one. Hopefully you have 2 or 3 that are working together because ideally, I know Daryl has shared in some of our membership trainings that she just asked a couple of her friends and said, hey, will you be on the membership team with me? Let's work together. So when you do it with a couple of your friends, you can, sit over lunch and talk about what you can do and plan that way. It doesn't have to be so structured. It can be a fun time to get together while you plan. And also, it's going to, like I said, be organized just like a fundraiser or a service project. You need to meet, you need to plan and execute, and then also do a recap after what went well, what didn't go well, what can I do to make it better. So the very first step in doing an open house is going to set the date of your open house. So I would recommend at your next meeting, club meeting or board meeting, talk about this and figure out a date for an open house. And it's recommended that that open house is about 60 days away. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that in this next slide. So as far as the timeline, you want to have at least 4 to 6 members on your team to kind of plan this open house, and each having a small task. That way it's not so enormous for one person. Like I said, you want it to be at least 60 days in advance. So right now we're in November. So plan something for January or maybe February, because the holidays always make things a little bit tricky. You can also set appointments with people before the actual event. Now, this is something we do with our new clubs that we haven't in the past always done with our existing clubs, except for the Kiwanis Club of Stewart. If you remember, um, last year for Harvey's year, they were the club of the year. And they got a huge amount of memberships. And the reason they did is because there was a group of people that when they talked to them and said, "Are you interested in learning more about Kiwanis? Come have coffee with me." So you can have coffee and appointments beforehand, so that then you have the open house and you set it in stone. So we do that all the time for our opening of new clubs. Is we have those appointments. We have 1 week where we schedule a ton of appointments with community leaders, and usually the open house is scheduled for ideally like a couple weeks later. And then in that in opening a new club, we also have recruiters of teams that will go to those meetings. Now, because you are an existing club, you don't have to have these appointments. You can just invite people to one open house. But when you have that one-on-one conversation, it really works well to help answer any questions that the person has, and to be able to really share what the Kiwanis Club is about, and so that they can join. All right, so there's tons and tons of resources for you. There's in the Kiwanis International website. So just a show of actual hands. If you raise your hand if you've been to this website, Kiwanis.org, and gone to the membership section. Okay. Yep. Good. A few of you have. Good. So there's so many resources here that are really helpful. So if you go to kiwanis.org/club/membership, it goes to resources. Now, Kiwanis International just recently changed their website, and I'm not sure that that is the actual website anymore. So I'm gonna have to double check that one for you. But you can always, what I do is I just Google Kiwanis Club Strengthening, and it comes right up. I don't usually go to the website and type in. All right, so there is a hosting an open house guide, and it has step-by-steps with fillables to be able to figure out how you're going to host this open house. It's very important when you schedule the date. The first thing you obviously need to do is schedule where that's going to be held and what that's going to look like. Some clubs do their open house as in like a normal meeting time or date. And then some will do it, usually it's done in the evening as more like a social event. And so you can do a service project. The one that Daryl planned last night actually was a mixture of a service project and an open house. So we put together bags for the homeless near us. So it was a great service project, a great way to get Kiwanis members to understand, or potential members to understand what it's all about. One thing I will definitely recommend is having some sort of service activity or drive. So it doesn't necessarily have to be something you do at the meeting, but maybe it's okay, come to the meeting, but we're also collecting toys for Tots. So if it was in December, you could do that. Or we've done in the past, come to the meeting, we're collecting food because of this need, we're going to donate it. So come to the meeting and bring something as a drive. So a lot of people like to have that opportunity to already serve even before they get into those meetings. And if anybody has any questions, this is pretty open. I like to answer questions throughout, so you don't have to save them to the end. You can go ahead and ask. So you'll follow your timeline, and it starts out 1 month before you have your prospect list. And we're going to talk a little bit about that prospect list. You want to make sure that you have ways to think of specific people that you want to be involved in your club. So your neighbors might be interested. So going over there and just chatting with them for a little bit about, oh, well, listen, we're having this open house. Are you interested in learning about what I'm involved in with Kiwanis? You don't have to say, are you interested in joining? That's the key, because you want to invite them to an open house to learn. And if they're interested in it, then they'll join. If they're not, then they've had a great night to socialize with some service-minded individuals. You want to also make sure that you reach out to community partners, event sponsors, and local educators, leaders in your community, even politicians, to make sure that you are reaching beyond your immediate reach. So like your neighbors and people you see on a regular basis, they may already know what you do in Kiwanis, but just going to the chamber list and looking at who's involved in your local chamber of commerce and finding who nonprofit organizations, political activists or politicians. You can also reach out to people that you don't know and just send them an email, give them a call, and tell them about this open house and that they can learn more. You want to have 50 names that you send invites to, and sending the invite can be done in numerous ways. I really like it when clubs send out personal invitations in the mail. I think that's very beneficial because everybody likes to get mail, right? That's not junk mail, because we get enough junk mail. And also calling, texting, and emailing, especially if it's someone who you don't know. So typically when we do a club boost, we will email them. We'll wait a day or so, and if they haven't responded to that email, we'll give them a call. If they don't pick up the phone, we'll send them a text. And always having your open house flyer in a JPEG and a PDF. So emailing it, typically you want to email the flyer, the invite, and a PDF. But when you text, you want it to be that image. So every time you're texting someone, you're attaching that image, that invite to your open house. And Todd has created a really amazing open house invite, which we can share with you so that you can kind of look at it and create your own. But it tells about what Kiwanis is, as well as the meeting time and location. So it's great to have that. And then social media, we really can't discount it because we've gotten a lot of new members through social media posts. I know our very first open house was during COVID in my club, and we had a few people show up. It was only via Zoom, which even post COVID, I still think Zoom is a great option because people are more likely to attend a Zoom meeting and just listen in, as opposed to driving somewhere if they feel uncomfortable or they don't know anyone there. Obviously, your neighbor is not going to be uncomfortable coming to a meeting with you. So you can invite them to an in-person. But for some of those strangers, a Zoom meeting is a much safer option. So maybe think about doing an in-person meeting, and then the next time you do one, do a Zoom one and just try it out and see how it works to compare. You want at least 50 names because only 1/3 will attend, and then in that third, usually you get a third of those to join, is the rule of thumb or average. So let's talk about more about that prospect list. Let's share. I want you guys to share some people that I didn't mention, maybe about who the prospect list should be. You can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, you can unmute and just raise your hand, and I'll just do one at a time. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Tina.
I got you, Prairie.
Thanks.
Pam, you there?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I didn't hear you call on me.
Ah,
The one thing that I would caution people, you have to be careful with how many political people you are inviting, because especially come election time, when everybody's running for a city council position and they're running against one another, you may get a member, and if they don't win, they're gone. My last open house was in Tamarack when I was lieutenant governor of 23. We did an open house, and we did it in the back room of a Chinese restaurant, and they had a huge back room. And we actually put our banner out in the opening right in front of the doorway. And we had at least 15 people who were there to have dinner that we didn't invite come in. And we got about 4 or 5 members from that group because they liked my what I call my dog and pony show. I always do a PowerPoint on all the other good things that we've done throughout the year. But the PowerPoint was very sorry, my computer keeps turning me off. Having it in a public place where other people can walk in, not just the people who you invite, works very well. So
Love that.
that's my speech.
I love that.
thank you.
And I definitely understand the hesitancy towards political people, but I'm going to say for our club, it's been very successful, as Daryl was running for office when she first joined our club. And that's been what, like 15 years ago now or something. Yeah, somewhere around there. So
qualify it.
You can definitely have those that join and then drop out. But I really like, as long as you're open to everyone and you have a no politics policy in
Right.
your meetings and stuff.
No.
It's definitely not. Yeah, I think it works well.
Prairie, don't get me wrong. We have mayors and the whole bit in our club. But if you are having one in the time of that they're actually running for office, we've had a lot of really hard feelings when they go to give out their the stuff that they put on the lawns. That yes, you'll take it from one and not from the other, and some of these people will actually drive by your house to see which one you put out. So
well, I think that's your club would need to have a no politics policy, and that
right.
Our club is, we love all people and we want to serve kids and we don't want to be distracted by politics. So we're not going to do any of that. But who are some other people that should be on our prospect list?
Yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
Judges, actually. We currently have a judge, and he recently invited 2 more judges, like family court judges. They're very interested in children's programming, that type of thing. In fact, we just got 2 new applications from our one retired judge who he brought.
Oh, wonderful. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just,
How about Alan?
Is it this Alan?
Yes.
No, the other Alan. Go ahead.
No, not the rubber ducky, not with the ducks in the background. Go ahead, Alan.
Alrighty. I was just gonna say former coworkers and former clients. There's a treasure trove of opportunities there.
Absolutely.
absolutely. Daryl?
Daryl?
I think it should be, did you call me?
Yes,
um,
Daryl.
It really should be everybody. The list that Kiwanis gives out with the I think it's 3 columns of all from A to Z of all the potential people, real estate, barber, hairdresser. I put a few of those out on an email to people. So it really should be everybody. And Prairie, our new member, Barry, said he asked his dog sitter or dog groomer. They didn't show up, but he asked them. So it really is anybody you come in contact who you feel would be a person that, expands our service from our club. So really it's everybody.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. LG Winsome.
Good evening, all. One always forgotten group is our faculty advisors.
Ah,
That's how I
That's great.
came in. So
yeah. Is that how you
that's a
came in, Gregory?
definite.
Really?
Yes, I was faculty advisor for a builders club. And actually, yeah.
That's wonderful. Alan, why?
Since I almost got put on the spot accidentally, it made me think. So, I was thinking, as you go to your Christmas parties this holiday season and you're meeting new people, and the first thing they say is, well, what do you do? Well, you might say, well, I'm a lawyer, but we don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about Kiwanis, and make that your small talk.
Yeah,
Kiwanis
I love
small
that.
talk Christmas parties.
That's great. Kathy McDonald.
Hi, I would be very interested in figuring out a really good way to reach former Kiwanians. We actually have 3 members in our little tiny club that used to be members of clubs elsewhere. And I have to think that there's plenty of people moving into Central Florida every day, in our case, in the Division 10 area. I'd love some strategy on how to reach out to them and say, don't quit, come on.
That is a great idea. We actually had one person last night at our open house who was from Missouri, was in Kiwanis in Missouri. So, yeah, that's a great idea too. I wonder if we can figure that out. So thank you so much for sharing. One of the things we want to think of too is who has your club lost. And that's kind of ties in a little bit what you're saying, Kathy. Former Kiwanians of not just other clubs, but also maybe your own club, and reaching back up to those. I know a lot of the clubs that are doing their celebrations, like their 25th anniversary or 50th or 100th, 75 even. A lot of times they'll reach out to former members and they'll loop them back into the fold. So there's got to be a time to say, well, let's just have a celebration and not have to be a specific year, but let's reach out to those former members of our own club to see why they haven't, or if they would be willing to join. Maybe their situation has changed and they're interested in joining. But also, if you used to have a ton of judges, like Barbara said, and you don't anymore, oh man, we're missing our judges. We need to reach out to that population of people as well. So these are some of the ideas as well: lawyers, educators, clergy, realtor, librarians, even financial advisors are huge. That's one of the first groups that we reach out to when we start to open clubs. Realtors as well, and lawyers. A lot of lawyers want to be involved. There's some more. What kind of people do you need? If you need someone because you have no marketing skills whatsoever in your club, reach out to someone that does marketing for a living. We have a really great real estate agent office that we partner with, and one of the employees is a member, and she's great on social media. So let's reach out to that person and make sure that we loop them into what they're good at. So this is what Daryl was talking about, the roster analysis worksheet. This is also on Kiwanis.org, professions. And so it's a great way to kind of trigger your brain into who you should invite. Oh,
That was
don't forget,
Alan.
you're gonna have to start dancing. Um, uh, don't forget the people that you know that are close. So your relatives, especially spouses, your friends and neighbors, your work colleagues, like you mentioned, Alan, thank you, and former work colleagues, fellow professional association members are an idea. Nonprofit board acquaintances. So if you partner with other nonprofits, getting the nonprofits to help and join your club as well. And so, where do you keep that prospect list? We love to put it in Google spreadsheets. So, our Google Sheets for opening clubs is really fantastic because everybody can view it at once and make changes and put input on how they contacted the people without without having to email something back and forth. So if you don't have a Google account, I would recommend that you create one for your club and host it on your club's Google account. So like our club has a Gmail, eockiwanis@gmail.com. So with that comes 15 gigabytes of free storage space and all of the files that we could possibly want to upload there. So this is one of the ones that we can do, and it's really, really great. Alan, did you have a question or something you wanted to add? Oh, you're muted still.
Sorry, my phone did that. Your last slide just reminded me, when we get speakers at our club that have I've heard this said before, to ask your speaker, and people always forget. But when we have a speaker that has a program that's child related or something, I tell them right out, you have a wonderful program and we love it and we'd love to be involved, but I guarantee you that by next week we're going to forget. So you need to join this club and come lead us getting involved in your club, in your project.
That's a great idea.
You can't be shy about it.
Yeah. Barbara.
So I know Prairie has put the list up on for Healthy Families contacts, but Healthy Families is a great supporter of Kiwanis. There's been a lot of collaboration in the past. Healthy Families is a nonprofit. Well, we're a program, a child abuse prevention program. There's one project in every single of your divisions. Ask the program manager. Healthy Families will help pay some of their fees. So they're a good ask. I was asked 10 years ago, and here I am. Still here.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's one of the ones we want to promote, is that partnership with Healthy Families, which will be coming out in a future newsletter as well, some more information. But they are the people I just uploaded to the Governor's Project Padlet, all of their contacts for each county. So reach out to them and ask them to be members of your club, because it's a great partnership, and that will help you be able to do the Governor's Project for the next 2 years, because that's obviously part of the preventing child abuse, which is something that's huge.
And Prairie, I raised my own hand. Just to share, piggyback on what Alan was saying, when you have a speaker, I love getting speakers who I know are prospects right away into our club. And when I, years ago, was a speaker, that's exactly how I became involved in Kiwanis, because of the program that I do is working with kids, and Alan, with the schools all over the district, the counties. And not only was it an advantage for me, because I was able to ask for a grant, whatever they could fund at the time, and we built upon that. And then I get them the information and people to connect for the K kids, the builders clubs, the key clubs, the action clubs, because I'm connected with the school district. So it's very important. I just want to end this part of knowing exactly who your prospects are, or get to know them right away, so that you can see where is it best fit for them to fit into some kind of a member in a committee, in one of the committees you have in your clubs. It's important, in other words, like job descriptions, to know people, to put them where you feel they're going to do best. So that's all. Feel good about it.
Exactly. And that kind of goes into what we'll talk about in a little bit, is what we do after that point. So So as far as the appointments that we are setting, if you set appointments one-on-one with these people, you want to make sure that you remember your key message. And your message is, we need you and your ideas and your experience and all the things that make you wonderful to join our club so that you can help move the club into the direction that you want it to be. So like Tina just said, if you have a project that you're passionate about, and Alan as well, let us help you with that passion, as long as you can keep us in the loop through joining the club. Make sure that you have an application with you, and then follow up. We have a few members in our district, not just one, but several, that are really good at the follow-up aspect. It'll be 5 years later and they're still, hey, remember you said you might be interested in joining Kiwanis? Is now a good time? We would love to have you. So you want to make sure that you follow up. I really like the things that you need to bring to make these appointments with a potential member: a club brochure, a list of what your club does, an overview maybe of the district if you have that. And then the Kiwanis International Just the Fact Sheet, I really love. We give it to all of our new members in their new member packet, but it's also good to give to potential members because it shows the vast, like how big Kiwanis is. Because Kiwanis has, in Florida alone, 5,500 members. And then if you just include Kiwanis, but then when you add in Key Club, which has 23,000 members, then it grows our Kiwanis family, and it kind of breaks it down into the different service leadership programs so that they know that they're part of what makes Kiwanis so great. And so once you have done that appointment, you want to make sure you touch base and check in on them. This is after your informational session. You want to make sure that you touch base with every single guest by phone, email, or a personalized card. To thank them for attending, and then let them know, ask them if they have any other questions. So this is key. A lot of times Kiwanis members and Kiwanis clubs will have this great event. We'll talk to people. If they didn't join right away, you'll say, thank you for coming. And then they never hear from you again. So you want to make sure that you're active in following up with them. A month later, you want to make sure you welcome your new members. And when you welcome new members, do it on social media. Put a little post with their picture and what job they do. And thank you for joining the club. We're proud to have you as our new member. And then maybe a little bit of a blurb about them and promote them. Because as much as Kiwanis started out as a networking thing, it kind of lost that, and we are very focused on service, which is the main reason why anyone would join Kiwanis, right? But networking is still important for a lot of people. I was at a club meeting this morning, and I love that every time they do introductions at every meeting, they're very quick, but it says your name and like where you work. So you're constantly, hey, my name's Prairie and I'm a tutor for math. And so you can share that information so that you can draw those connections. Networking is not a bad thing in Kiwanis. So we want to make sure that we can give members also what would add value to their lives on top of the service. You want to make sure you have a new member orientation. I think I might have mentioned it before we started recording, so I'll mention it again, but on November 13th. And every quarter, we're going to have a new member orientation via Zoom for the district. Debbie McNulty, our CLE Leadership Development Coordinator, is putting those together. So she will train you or train the new members on what is Kiwanis. If it would be helpful for you to do that, but I know subclubs just don't. So we're reaching out to those new members to make sure that we let them know what Kiwanis is all about and make them feel welcome. You want to have that installation, and that can be at a club meeting. However, I really love the idea of having installations at DCMs because you have a whole division there. Everybody's there. The new member gets to come and learn that Kiwanis is bigger, and their network can be bigger than their one club. It's all of the clubs in the division and beyond. So maybe that's something you can ask your lieutenant governor to do is, oh, can we do a new member installation for our new member at the next DCM? And then once you do it, maybe someone else is going to want to do installation. And then you are constantly focusing and talking about membership in the division level. Assign a mentor is also very key to make sure that you have one person that will be that buddy to kind of reach out to that lone member so that the member doesn't kind of get lost, especially if they don't know anyone. So obviously the mentor, if it's someone you know, the mentor is going to be their friend that invited them. But if it's a stranger off of Facebook that come and loved what Kiwanis does and decided to join the club, hook them up with a member to be able to be a mentor. I'm gonna say make sure that you plan another open house. Once you have this one done and you've done all of the after action review to make sure that everything worked well and to see what you need to change for the next time, schedule that next one already. And then you can, maybe have one a quarter, or even if you do it every 6 months, just 2 a year, then have that date set so that you can have a goal and a plan for inviting people in the future. One thing I didn't mention and don't have a slide for is the importance of scheduling service projects a couple of weeks and a month after an open house. You want to make sure that once you've got them hooked, you keep them involved. So in that new member orientation, you want to ask them what they're passionate about, what they like to do. Do they like marketing and social media? Do they like working with the schools? Do they want to be an SLP advisor? You want to get them connected immediately into what they're passionate about so that they can feel like they're giving value to their community. If they've joined the club and then there's nothing going on for the next month, then they're just going to leave the club pretty shortly after, because they joined for a reason, and you have to make sure you understand what that reason is and help them to find value and meaning in that meeting. So all right, so let's talk now about successes and things that have worked well and things that maybe haven't worked well in open houses. Or if you have any questions, we're going to open it up, because that is the end of this hosting an open house session.
So who's up first? Any successes? Comments?
Anything we didn't mention?
Okay, Barbara.
Well, while we haven't had an open house, we actually just this past Wednesday, we did a service committee showcase. We have a lot of service committees, and honestly, it was probably the largest attendance we've had in a long time. And then at the end, they're like, I had no idea we did so much. And we had each committee chair talk a little bit about it. And I'm not talking, just the programs committee. We're talking all our foundation committees, our children's Christmas party, our fundraising committees. And we kind of gave them key dates to kind of look out for and how to kind of sign up. And there was a lot of synergy. We invited all our newer members and members who we hadn't seen in a while to come, just to kind of get reinvigorated. So I think that's definitely something we're going to repeat. And I think it would be great in an open house too.
I love that. I love that. Having that a service showcase as part of the open house would be a great thing. Absolutely. I love that.
Kathy McDonald.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Kathy. Yeah.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Our new president, Alan Sneath, who is here tonight, has put together a membership committee, which is one of the first things we're supposed to do. His watchword is "This is the year," and so we are. And Sue Sutter is here from our club as well. Our club, through the years, has developed what we call our Kiwanis Circle of Friends, and these are people who have said, off and on, even repeatedly, I'm not a joiner. I'm not going to join your club, but let me know when you're doing something and I'll come help. And I think this might be the year, Alan, to bear down on these folks and say, well, why don't you join? You know, if they say, well, you're a breakfast club, we haven't been a breakfast club for years. Come on. So I think that's another resource, people that are already a little bit invested, and we invite them to our socials, we invite them to our events, but it might be time to look at them as a group of resources, and also invite them to come and help us with our open house, because we are determined. Alan has set us a lofty goal, and we're gonna reach it. I know we are, but I think that having people that just start out helping with service, and once they get to know what you're doing, I believe that they would be easier to turn into a member.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And alongside with that is inviting to your open house. Because you mentioned, like, if you were to have an open house, if you're a smaller club, you don't want to have, just, 4 or 5 members and then a couple. Invite your division to join in on your open house and support you in that. Because when we do club opening, this one we just did an informational session in Auburndale, we had 5 local Kiwanis clubs send representatives to be there. So even though there were a couple of members, potential members and from the club, we had a huge showing of people supportive. So invite your members in your division as well, especially if you're going to have like some sort of service project or a fun social activity, then they're going to come and they're going to want to learn so that they can bring it back to their club so that we can continue to grow.
That's great. Daryl.
Thank you. Prairie, you included all the right information, so I really don't have anything to add except maybe to emphasize a couple of things. You do need to set a date. And I think once you get the date, there's the pressure to follow through. And you do need to have somebody who's a little bit relentless in this, because it's one thing to set the date, it's the other thing to set it up. Because I went away for 2 weeks, came back, and we did a service project with the open house. We packed snack bags, and I assumed that one of our local grocery stores was going to donate everything. And then I found out like a week before that they weren't. So I had to scramble. You have to have a plan B. I really scrambled. But you do have to have somebody that's on top of it and working with others to push out the message, to keep pushing out the emails to your members, because I don't think our members are any different than anybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
Most people aren't going to ask. They feel all their friends are in Kiwanis. They're afraid or whatever. So you have to keep pushing for them to ask, give them examples. And then once you get people there, and I'd say we had about 5 potential members come, which I think is pretty good. You have to ask. It's like any kind of sales job in business. You have to ask. You have to ask for the business. And our guests.
That ask, Daryl, is so important in every company. When you want money, when you want people, and Prairie mentioned about those committees, and you want that really energetic person like a Tina that's going to go after anybody and not care. I mean, not that I don't care, but that's why you form that committee that Prairie was talking about, and you have committee chairs, and you pull people into it where you know that they're a good fit. That's what I was trying to allude to before. But
you're so right, Tina, and it's got to be organized. There's a lot of components. I was happy with the way ours turned out for the first time doing that. Thank you, Prairie. And then our guest speaker, who was a school board member, I went up to her afterwards. I said, "Would you join?" And she goes, "Yes." So, I mean, you have to ask. You can't let them get out the door without asking or following up. And we asked everybody, and they go, some of them said probably, but to me, that's a yes. So, I'm still putting together the letter. But I think those are the 2 things. If you're going to do it, you have to do it with fidelity. You have to do it with tenacity. You have to be organized. And I think we accomplished that. And then you've got to ask.
Exactly.
You've got to ask. And do all the other stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. And I know, Alan, you had your hand raised for a while, huh?
Yeah, I was just going to add to the comment that was made about including your other clubs. because, you know, when I have somebody that comes that's kind of interested in our club, I'll send them to another club as well to get a feel for, you know, and often they'll come back to my club wanting to join even more. But sometimes you'll lose them, but at least they're still in Kiwanis.
Exactly. They are.
But they have a better feel for,
yeah.
you know, a comparison.
LG. LG, you there?
Hi.
There you go.
Hi,
Hi.
yes, good evening again. We haven't had our open houses yet. We have one thing called set for February and Grand Cayman for January. But coming out of installation, one of my club's installation, it was geared towards each member inviting a guest to the installation. And that went pretty well because coming out of that, we've had really 4 really engaged, active guests, having heard our story and what we've done over the year, now wanting to join. So that too is a part of gaining membership. One of the things we're looking at, because St. Croix being a new club, we had a huge response in terms of persons living in that area who wanted to join. However, we must also be cognizant of the financial strain that is upon all sectors. And one of the ideas that have come out in terms of us seeking new membership is you have some persons who have the resources but don't have the time. And so I can't be, you know, bothered with. So them, we're not shunning them. We then ask, would you like to sponsor someone? Because we will now have others, particularly in the school, the faculty advisors, as I mentioned, who are workers and engaged, but are maybe short of the resources. So what we are looking in terms of our open house is engaging persons. One, you can either look at sponsoring a new member. So we'll have a pool of sponsorship, and those who really can't afford the membership, we have, you know, but are able to give the time and give the service and pairing those individuals.
I love that idea, Winsome. And that goes along too with what the Kiwanis Club of Ormond Beach has done too. They raised their membership by 123% last year, more than double, because they started this, they implemented this program where they were going to have their sponsors be corporate members, but in that they pay double the amount of a typical membership fee, and they are sponsoring a teacher or a first responder to be a member of their club. So you get 2 new members with one payment from one business, and usually like their dues are only $150. So a business is going to pay $300 for that's easy for a business to pay in a year typically. And so that gets 2 new members, the business corporate member, as well as the teacher and first responder. So yeah, that's another idea of Winsome. I hadn't heard of that, of having just the paid sponsor pay for the business, pay for someone else. That's a great idea as well. So both of those have really, I think, been successful in the clubs that have implemented that. So
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I think to be cognizant of your time, I appreciate you being here. I can stay on, but I'm going to stop the recording and let everyone leave if you would like to. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you showing up and finding ways that you can improve your club.